I apologize that I have to go back to an important meeting. I do want to just clarify one thing about my own, since my reputation has been besmirched here, is I think I do have a very long record of writing against the legalization of euthanasia. So the association of me and that seemed a little strange, given, I don't know, at least 30 years or 25 years of writing on the topic against the legalization. So just to clarify the record for everyone in the room. Thank you.
It's a record vote. Clerk, please read the bill.
This is State Representative Debbie Riddle. She authored the bill that would require voters to show a photo ID.
Clerk, bring the bill. It's a record vote.
It's all about integrity.
Record vote.
But the integrity of one person, one vote doesn't apply at the legislature. We found many lawmakers vote more than once. Take a look. Riddle votes, turns around, votes again for State Rep Kemple. Rewind. And watch the men on the screen. Elkins goes to vote for Merritt, but Hancock is faster. Elkins heads back to his desk, but before he can vote, Joe Crabb turns around and beats him to it. There is so much going on during the vote on the HPV vaccine mandate, you really have to pay attention. Start with State Rep Hamilton at his desk, who leans over to vote a second time for his desk mate Dan Branch, then reaches back to vote for Charlie Howard and casts a fourth vote for Wayne Smith. He's not the only one scrambling to vote. Rewind the video and take a look at the top of the screen. State Reps West and Phillips both lean over to vote for themselves and their desk mates. Phillips votes a third time for Christian. On the left, Donna Howard votes for State Rep Vo. State Representative Dunham didn't have to leave his chair to cast 4 votes. One for himself, then for Coleman, Martinez Fisher, and then Veazey. Sometimes the voting is across party lines. Hartnett, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England, and Republican John Davis votes for Democrat Noriega. Most voters have no way of knowing if their lawmakers are actually casting their own vote. Even though the legislature is broadcast on cable TV, the cameras change from this to this when it's time to vote. But if you're sitting on the third floor gallery,
I certainly noticed that there appear to be far more votes on the tick board than there were people in the room.
Arnie and Laurel Weiss were baffled when they came to see the legislature in action.
It seems very inappropriate, and they should do something about it. Yeah, definitely.
State Rep Debbie Reynolds says voting for other members is done out of necessity.
We have a lot of votes. We have a lot of amendments. And there's times when we don't break for lunch and we don't break for dinner. We don't have bathroom breaks.
Necessity or not, one thing is clear. They aren't supposed to be doing it. According to the official House rules, written, voted, and approved by lawmakers at the beginning of the session, any member found guilty by the House of knowingly voting for another member on the voting machine shall be subject to discipline deemed appropriate by the House.
Clerk, bring the bill. It's a record.
So, should lawmakers do it?
There's no question.
At face value, it seems a blatant affront to their own rules.
Now, what do we got to do? Because let's be, and Sarah's right, people's intimidation on this issue is not defined by just Republicans. There are Democrats intimidated by this issue. Wrongly, but intimidated, and they think their politics and their community is such that they can't do this. The truth is, what we need again to get moving on this legislation is put together a crime strategy like we had before, which is why we passed the bill today on the cops, putting money back into putting police officers on there, getting voices for change, and then making sure that we have a president, I cannot put my partisanship aside, a Democratic president, who will take that office and use it to protect the streets and the kids that grow up on those streets, and make sure that we once again have an assault weapon ban, a Brady bill with the full force of the law on the land, because we need somebody in the Oval Office that moves this Congress. We had an election about change. People are clear about the special interest. They are tired of that gridlock that special interest caused in Washington. And I think the most simple thing we can do, and we've got to make this a #1 issue as a test vote and then take it into the election, that is, if you are on the no-fly list because you are known as maybe a possible terrorist, you cannot buy a handgun in America. And I am not one far from liking the mixing of politics and policy, but as my old boss used to say, give me that vote and throw me into that briar patch. I'll make politics out of that every day, because if it's between that terrorist list and the NRA, I know where America is going to be every time, and they're going to make the right choice. We have got to start building on that. That is the right thing to take into the election, and it's the right policy. If you're on that no-fly list, your access to the right to bear arms is canceled because you're not part of the American family. You don't deserve that right. There is no right for you if you're on that terrorist list. That should be #1 in what we do. Make sure there's a full force of the law behind the Brady bill. So to all those who dedicate their lives to seeing sensible gun laws, remember, it's sensible gun laws, police on the beat, giving our kids an alternative to that street, and making sure that we have the drug laws so people, because those are the types of people who are most access to the most violent types of crimes. Once the COPS program ended, once we let those gun laws bans expire, 40% increase in homicide rate, a 35% increase in violent crimes with handguns. We left what we knew was working because of ideology and special interest. We have got to get back to what's right to lead the way forward. Thank you, and God bless you all.
We're developing a vertical takeoff vehicle that, unlike a helicopter, does not have a big exposed rotor overhead. So all the rotors of this vehicle are contained inside the fuselage. And this enables it to fly in very confined spaces such as cities and woods, canyons, and many places where helicopters can't reach.